A U.S. official telling Fox News last night the U.S. forces shot down 2 attack drones attempting to strike commercial ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz. This comes as President Trump signals a deal with the nation. The deal with Iran he's closing in on it, and it could happen this weekend. According to reports, the deal will involve releasing Iran's frozen assets. That's a huge statement. We're not going to release all their frozen assets. Negotiating Iran's nuclear program during a 60-day ceasefire. So there'll be some type of release that's in there, but there'll be a cessation of violence and an opening of the strait. Here to discuss the feasibility of this, retired 4-star General, Fox News senior strategic analyst, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, I noticed that the Iranians aren't pushing back so aggressively as they have in the past after the president said we were close on a deal. Do you read anything into that?
No, well, I think it remains to be seen where we are. I mean, you can tell from Iran, I mean, their comments are always inconsistent when it comes to a deal. You got people saying they're compliant, you have other people in the government saying they're not. So it's going to take some time to ferret out what we really have here. But listen, we're not at this point without the military operation that President Trump ordered. He knew he wasn't making much progress with these guys, and 2 nights of military operation with the promise of more to come certainly gave him added leverage. And I think as we go forward, and we're in early stages here, remember, it's taken us 2 months to get here after the ceasefire, when the Iranians said they were going to negotiate the opening of the Straits of Hormuz in 2 weeks. So we have to have some patience in what we're dealing with here, and we have to be very clear-eyed about what's happening. Because what the Iranians say and what they do are 2 different things. Witness the violation of the ceasefire, as you just mentioned last night, and how much of that they have been violating for weeks in the Straits of Hormuz, attacking U.S. bases, and what they've done in unleashing Hezbollah in Lebanon is incredible under the guise of a ceasefire. 2,000-plus rockets and drones fired into northern Israel, forcing the evacuation of the towns. And by the way, while we're on that subject, I hope we can work into this deal an exclusion so that Israel can still deal with Hezbollah. The major lesson learned from 9/11 was we cannot permit our adversaries to have sanctuaries from where they can attack us again. And that was enforced in Iraq and Syria and also in Eastern Africa. The reality coming out of October the 7th is you cannot have proxies on the border with the capability to attack Israel again. And that's what Hezbollah has right now in Lebanon. And they should not be a part of this ceasefire. Israel has got to be able to deal with that capability on its border. Why? Because under a ceasefire, what happens? Hezbollah continues to attack. That's what we have seen. But going forward here, the administration is clear-eyed in who they're dealing with here. They know these guys lie, and they know they cheat. And listen, what Iran wants here is they want to get money so that they can recover their regime. And believe me, no matter what they sign as a final deal, at some point, they will do everything they can to reverse it. That is who they are, and that is predictable. Negotiators know that, so what we have to bake into the deal is the prevention of their ability to reverse a deal post-Trump presidency. That's where we got to be if we're going to have something that's enduring here.
So, General, there's so many other forces besides what this president is more in charge than any president maybe in my lifetime. But there's so many other forces. I mean, the Gulf states have their point of view. People in the administration have a different point of view, and it's always the right way. You set up a good administration if they disagree. You don't need someone just agreeing on everything. That's why they're there. However, the Gulf states evidently were rushing to get us and Iran back together again. Why do you think that's their objective when the original objective was stop Iran? They are the bully of the Middle East, and they are the problem in the Middle East. What changed?
Well, there's a lack of spine there. That's the truth of it, except for the UAE. They're all in. And the reason is pretty simple. They fear Iran. Ever since the Straits of Hormuz got closed, they feel there's some obligation there with Iran going down the road. And the second thing they fear is Iran's ability to retaliate against the oil and gas infrastructure. Despite the fact, if you gave Admiral Cooper and CENTCOM the mission to help defend them, like they are doing with Israel, because they asked to help to be defended, we could do that, and we could take away their missiles and drones that they use. I mean, we've been watching where they're doing with both of those missiles and drones for 2 months now, and we have the capability to do that. But those Gulf states don't accept that. They're the ones that pressured the administration to shut down Project Freedom. Remember, Project Freedom was opening up the Straits of Hormuz and creating a lane for them to pass through. And when the president was getting close to reattacking about 10, 12 days ago, they also came forward and said, well, we can work a deal here. The problem we have with them is ever since Iran shut down the Straits of Hormuz, they fear what they're going to continue to do in controlling it, and they fear retaliation. And that is why we need the president to help take their fear away. We got to structure this deal so that it truly can be enduring, and it's not a vehicle just to provide a temporary solution. It's got to be something that lives beyond the Trump presidency.
Right. I know, because we're not going to have anybody this committed to eliminating Iran from being the nemesis that they are to America. General Jack Keane, always great. Thanks so much.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.